Well, we don't take anybody for granted, and we approach every week the exact same way. However, certainly we acknowledge how strong a team that Georgia and Alabama have this year, and that was a real. I always tell the players, and I told them today, I have a saying: I either win or I learn, and that was a learning experience for a lot of our players. And the positive to me that I took out of it was that I thought we played hard. I don't think we ever gave up, and I thought a lot of young players got some valuable game experience. The one who probably stood out the most was Schamberger. I thought under the big lights in an environment like that, 3:30 CBS game in Alabama, he stepped up and did really well. But there's others too. Batuli, continues to emerge as a very good young player. Matt Butler got a lot of reps. Kevon Bennett got his first action, I think, first real action. Like I said, so there's a lot of young players that played, and we got to take the lessons learned from that week, that game, and all the games, and move forward. And we've really kind of turned the page. It's really a 5-game season. The objective is to go 1-0 this week. That's what we need to do.
Have you been pleased with the way the defense has played in the first half, the last several weeks, particularly the first 2 quarters of those games?
Well, it's kind of a trick question. And the reason I say that, I mean, there's in the Alabama game the other day, there was a lot of good snaps. But in the big picture, we have to put a whole game together, and that's what we haven't been able to do yet. So to answer your question, whether it's the first half or whether it's the first 3 or first 4 quarters, there's always been, in the course of a 75-play game on average, there's been 60 to 65 really good snaps. But there's been 10 snaps that have been poor and in some cases catastrophic. And those are the things that separate us from being a good defense and maybe a really good defense. And to me, we just move forward. We make those corrections. We move on, and like I said, we have to get ready for a good Kentucky team.
With Batuli, it seemed like he was kind of the rundown guy, and Jumper was playing on some passing situations.
Yep.
How close is Daniel to kind of being a full-time middle linebacker? And I guess was that just his kind of game? Is that why he played so well?
Yes. All those. I think we're all very pleased with Daniel Batuli and think that he, certainly you look at him, he looks like an SEC linebacker, and he continues to get better. I think his positives and his negatives were exposed in that game. His positives being, he can run, he's physical, he can attack, he can tackle. Obviously, he had a pick 6. It was just a really good play. And then his inexperience shows up when the team, goes full throttle and does some tempo things, being the quarterback of the unit and things along those lines. So there's a little bit of give and take there. Jumper's probably a little bit better at that stuff, but probably doesn't make some of the plays that Daniel made. But we're going to need both those guys moving forward. We're going to need Sapp moving forward. We're going to need Elliott Berry. We're going to need Austin Smith. We're going to need all those guys moving forward to play the rest of this schedule.
Bob, what's kind of your evaluation of Tongbo's play this season, and especially the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think probably I think Jonathan and Kyle have played really hard. And I think the problem maybe at defensive end is they're probably all the defensive ends and all the guys up front maybe playing too many snaps. And there's, like I said, there's that fine line. And I come in here every Monday and we kind of say it that we want to get some of these other guys in there, but they also have to earn the right to play more snaps. And then so I think when Jonathan and Kyle are on, and all those guys, they're on. And when we get worn down, which happened, when you're playing like a team like Alabama, the wear down factor happens a little bit earlier than when you're playing someone else. And that wear down factor for us probably came with 3 or 4 minutes to go in the first half. I mean, you look up the scoreboard, 3 or 4 minutes to go in the first half, it's a 7-0 ball game, and you guys are going, holy crap, these guys are playing, and then suddenly, like that, it's 21-0 before the half. And then they, then they put the pedal to the metal, and momentum's a powerful thing. So, but Jonathan, again, for us to we need, like I said, we need a little more productivity out of defensive end, and we need a little more productivity out of the corners. We need a cover corner who can come up with a big stop on 3rd and 3 to 6, and we need a D end who we don't have to manufacture a pass rush who can get to the quarterback, and that's. Jonathan knows that, and he's played okay, but we need him to even play better.
Can Schamberger compete for playing time?
Yeah, that's a done deal. I promise you that. I mean, that guy, he showed that the stage wasn't too big for him, man. They tried to pick on him that first series, and he makes a tackle on the first play of the game on a 3-step. He has a corner blitz for a sack. He triggers on the run. That guy can play, man. I mean, that's again, I look at so many of the good young players. I look at him. I look at Warrior, Batuli. Some of these young guys who are good. And the thing that impressed me was, this stage wasn't too big for him. He played as he had practiced all week. And I'm not saying he played perfect. He made some mistakes. But, boy, he stepped up and I thought showed that he belongs at this level, and he's a guy to keep an eye out for in the future. He's what we're looking for and what Coach Jones and what Tennessee football fans are looking for.
Do situations like the way Schamberger played give you a little bit of juice or hope that maybe you could rely on younger players elsewhere when you see a guy like that?
Well, I mean,
responds to
Butler
the
probably
moment?
played his most snaps. Ignat played his most snaps. I mean, Kevon Butler played his most snaps. DeAndre Johnson had been coming off an injury. He'd have played more. So, yeah, I mean, but however, and this is on me as a coach and all of us as coaches, and that's what we talked about. We have to be more demanding in practice, because these guys have to show it. I think I said the quote last week. A player says to a coach, play me and I'll show you. And a coach says to a player, show me and I'll play you. And we're somewhere in between with our team right now. But Sham has shown it in practice, and Sham certainly showed it in the biggest stage on Saturday.
Why did you line him up against Ridley rather than flip it? It seemed like he was with Ridley.
Well, I don't know if it was he against Ridley or they lined up Ridley against him. Ridley lines up everywhere. And so we played him at the boundary corner. And we did a couple things early on, and we really got him 2 or 3 times where we were rolling the coverage to Ridley. And there's one play, there's a third down we got a stop on. He knocked the crap out of him, knocked him out of bounds, really got in his face. He's our best guy at stuff like that. He's very physical. He's a good blitzer. He's a good run force player. So I think it was more a case of Alabama trying to line up Ridley against him than us lining him up against Ridley. But I would say he held his own and did a really, really good job, to be very, very candid.
What's different about Alabama, having seen them up close and seen them for 4 quarters against your team? Just what's the difference between the 2 programs right now in your mind?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, I'd say first and foremost, I mean, certainly Coach Saban has got it going, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they're very consistent. I mean, the first thing that catches your attention in pregame, I'm not comparing them to us or comparing they're a good-looking team. I mean, they're as good-looking college football team. When you walk on the field, the butt and legs on those guys, big, strong, athletic-looking group. I mean, it's every single one of them just looks like they just came out of a factory, and then then they play the game. They're poised and their composure is what captures my attention. They're like a machine, running on the field, running off the field, and at halftime, one guy in for the next that just looks like one another. So I'd say eyeballing them, it's that, and then it's the depth. I mean, they have really good depth. I mean, the freshman quarterback looks like he's going to be really, really good, and he's behind one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And then Scarborough and Harris and all those guys, they got a depth at running back, depth at receiver. I mean, I can only imagine the depth on defense. I'm not 100% sure, but I know they have really really good players on defense.
What will you get out of Kentucky? What are you going to see against Kentucky? What about this week's game? What are some of the matchups that are going to be important?
But Kentucky's good, man. They're 5-2 and they're playing with confidence. They probably, I imagine it was their worst game of the year the other day. But the quarterback's a good athlete. He can make plays with both his arm and his feet. He's got a fairly big arm. He had a big run against us last year. The running back's a 1,000-yard rusher. They had 2 last year. One of them graduated, but he's back and he's a very, very good player. They have good quickness at the skill positions and a tight end who averages over 20 yards a catch. Up front, like I said, they ran the ball with great success last season, and I think Coach Stoops in his press conference today said something to the effect that they threw the ball a little too much. They need to start getting back to who they are and running the football. So I took that as kind of a challenge to us. And I have a great deal of respect for them, and they're playing for bowl eligibility, and like I said, they're playing with a great deal of confidence and are really a kind of a bad luck play away from having beaten Florida, similar to us. So I think it's 2 good football teams, trying to find their way and finish the month of October and get into November with a win. So it'll be a great challenge.
Do you see a sense of urgency from your guys with 5 games left, needing at least 3 wins to make a bowl game?
If they don't have a sense of urgency now, then they've probably played in the wrong conference or at the wrong school. I mean, yeah, absolutely, and not so much for all that. I mean, you can't, you said get 3 more. You can't get 3 more wins till you get 1 more win. So the approach has been. We talked about playoff mentality today. It's a playoff mentality. I mean, that's where we are right now. We're that 14 seed in the NCAA tournament who snuck in. And now we just got to keep going, and we can't change our process. We can't change our routine. Today had to be a good Monday, and it was. We got to have a really good Tuesday prep. We have to have a great week of preparation, getting ready for Kentucky, and then it'll be on to the next opponent, whoever that is.
Thanks, guys.